Hey, so for social studies today, we are going to be talking about Thomas Jefferson. Hopefully, you remember when we talked about the Declaration of Independence last week, and we talked about the fact that Thomas Jefferson wrote the majority of the Declaration of Independence. But aside from writing the Declaration of Independence, who was this guy? What did he do? That's what we're going to talk about today. Before we get going, this is the sheet we're using. It's front and back. If you want to just read it totally on your own, then you can turn this video off in just a second and get to reading. But then I will read it with you to help you out if you'd rather do it that way. I would like you to please go to your table of contents in your social studies binder, your history binder, write Thomas Jefferson, the writer, give it a page number, put the page numbers on here. And then you won't probably be able to put it in your binder because I forgot to 3-hole punch it for you. Sorry. But just put it in the pocket of your social studies binder. But make sure it's in your table of contents and you have the page numbers here. Also, do not lose this because, like I said, I want it in the binder. But also, tomorrow's homework, this is going to help you on tomorrow's homework. So make sure you have it handy for tomorrow. Okay. Katie's going crazy. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. If you don't want my help reading it, then you can go ahead and turn this video off right now. If you want me to read it to you, stick around, but please do follow along as I read it, okay? So it says, Thomas Jefferson, the writer. Remember the man who, oh my goodness, starting over, sorry guys. Remember the man who wrote almost all of the Declaration of Independence? His name was Thomas Jefferson. So, aside from the writer of the Declaration of Independence, who was Thomas Jefferson? Thomas Jefferson was born on a wealthy plantation in Virginia on April 13th, 1743. He was one of 10 children. Since their family was wealthy, they got a good education. Private tutors came to the Jefferson home and taught the kids. In his free time, Thomas Jefferson enjoyed playing in the woods near his house, reading, and playing the violin. In 1760, when he was around 17 years old, Thomas Jefferson enrolled in the College of William and Mary. There he studied law. After college, Thomas Jefferson became a lawyer and got involved in local government. In 1772, when Thomas Jefferson was around 29 years old, he married Martha Wales Skelton. Although there are several letters and journal entries stating that Martha Skelton Jefferson was an impressive woman, there are no known pictures of her. Pause for a second. So, right, they have journal entries and they have letters that people wrote to other people where it talked about her, and they one specifically said she was impressive. A couple of them said she was very beautiful. A couple of them said that they thought she was an excellent woman. So she was well respected. A lot of people thought very highly of her, but there are no portraits of her that anybody knows of anywhere. So that's kind of too bad. Continuing on. Thomas and Martha Jefferson moved to a new home called Monticello. Thomas Jefferson loved working on his home. He spent over 40 years working on his estate. And that picture there, that's a picture of his house at Monticello. And Thomas Jefferson actually designed that house. So that's pretty impressive. Monticello is in Virginia, and it's actually a tourist scene now. So you can go there and walk around. It's really impressive. So if you ever get a chance to go to Monticello, go for it. It's really cool. Martha and Thomas Jefferson had 6 children. They have 5 daughters and 1 son. Sadly, though, 2 daughters and their son died as infants. Another daughter died of whooping cough at the age of 2. Only 2 daughters, Mary and Martha, lived to be adults. Martha, Thomas Jefferson's wife, died only 4 months after her daughter died of whooping cough. The exact reason of her death is unknown. Jefferson buried Martha in the graveyard at their home in Monticello. So, nobody's quite sure what she died of. Some people say she died 4 months after after her baby died of whooping cough. And some people think that she never recovered from having the baby. Something went wrong and she never got better, but nobody's quite sure what happened. What we do know, though, is that Jefferson was really, really in love with her, and he was totally heartbroken when she died. There are a lot of letters back and forth to people about how distraught he was and how upset he was. Reading again. Remember all that good education Thomas Jefferson had? It came in handy in the 1770s. Thomas loved to write. In fact, he was much more comfortable writing his thoughts down than speaking them. He had already written several well-respected pieces. So when the Continental Congress was looking for someone to write an important document declaring them free from England, who better to ask than Thomas Jefferson? After writing the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson had several jobs during and after the Revolutionary War. He was the governor of Virginia, an ambassador to France, the first Secretary of State under George Washington, vice president to John Adams, and the country's third president. He was also a farmer and an architect. Thomas Jefferson became ill in 1825. It is unknown exactly what illness he had. He died at the age of 84 on July 4th, 1826. That's the 50th anniversary of the day the Continental Congress voted to accept the Declaration of Independence. So that's pretty cool, right? Like, he wrote the Declaration of Independence, and then he died 50 years after it was accepted by the Continental Congress, exactly to the day. So that is a pretty cool thing to have happened. Okay, and then here in this section, in our text box down here, we have other Thomas Jefferson facts. Thomas Jefferson had slaves. Although Thomas Jefferson wrote the famous words, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal," he still owned hundreds of slaves. The White House was very informal while Jefferson was president. The White House was called the Presidential Mansion while Jefferson lived there. He liked to do things himself, and even answered the door himself when people knocked. Now, and back then even too, there were butlers and, servants and stuff, but he apparently always did it himself. While president, Thomas Jefferson doubled the size of the United States of America. In a deal called the Louisiana Purchase, Thomas Jefferson bought so much land from France that he doubled the size of the country. Thomas Jefferson hired Lewis and Clark. After buying all the new land from France, Jefferson needed to find out what it was like. Since much of the land was uncharted, that means there were no maps of it, Jefferson sent Lewis and Clark to explore and map the new land. And the last point, Thomas Jefferson's book collection began the Library of Congress. Thomas Jefferson sold over 6,000 books to Congress to start the Library of Congress. The library has been added to since then and now includes over 170 million titles. So, Thomas Jefferson, not a perfect man. He owned slaves and he did things that weren't great, but pretty impressive. When you think that he wrote the Declaration of Independence, and then if you look at his other jobs, he was ambassador to France, the first Secretary of State for the United States of America, vice president, and then president as well. So pretty impressive. Right here is a picture of Thomas Jefferson. Okay, guys, you won't have any homework for social studies today, but tomorrow you will be doing a worksheet on Thomas Jefferson, so make sure you know where this is. Bye.